Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is an M6A2E1. It's a Tier 8 American premium heavy tank. It's located on the northwest border of Empire's border, and it's under the command of Kidengineer. And we've got no sound, so you know what we have to do? We have to start the replay again. That's better, and we'll just run the replay along a bit. That's better. Now we've got engine noises. Okay, the Mutant. It's basically an M6 that's been, well, worked on to make it a more powerful tank. It's got a 105mm gun, which is, I think if I remember correctly, the T5E1 gun that was originally going to go onto the T28 tank destroyer. It's basically an M6 with extra armour on the front, no driver's port, no machine gun, and that 105mm gun in a turret that was originally going to be the same turret as on the T29 tank, but in actual fact ended up to be a modified turret altogether. Now originally, the reason for the build of this tank came about because when the British invaded, well, when the Allies invaded Normandy, the British came across the Tiger II tank for the first time. The Americans actually had it fairly easy at Normandy, apart from obviously Omaha Beach. They didn't come across any Tiger tanks at all, no German heavies. But the British came across quite a few of them, Tiger tanks and Tiger IIs. I think it was just that the Germans decided to attack the British around Caen, and of course it was bad news for the Germans because the British actually had plenty of Fireflies, which were Shermans. The Firefly 5C was a Sherman 5C with the 17-pounder gun. Okay, just over the rise we've got another Mutant and a T29. Straight through the cupola, no problem whatsoever. This gun will do 320 alpha, and it's got a penetration 204mm with standard ammo. And another shot through the turret roof. Yeah, it'll do 204mm with standard ammo, and it'll go through 245 with premium. Well, he didn't pen the cupola, he should have penned it. In fact, the Emil's telling him to pull back, but I think he's okay here because he's got 10 degrees of gun depression, which makes it very difficult for that T29 to get a good shot on him. Trying to look for the right spot to fire to hit the Mutants. Couldn't get one. Can't fire at the turret, go for the lower plate. Oh, he's gone back to the Mutant. Yep, got the upper plate with that one. Now the reason why they actually were going to build the Mutant, because they already had over 30 M6s that were effectively already rejected for use. And the reason they were going to build them is because after the Americans realised that the British were encountering very heavy German tanks, Eisenhower sent a memo saying we need heavy tanks now. And in fact ASAP was the word that was actually put onto the memo, saying get them now, we need them. Go for the cupola. Nice! Got that one in. So they began designing the Mutant as a solution, because it was a stopgap basically. They didn't have the T29, and there goes that one. The T29 was still in development work, so they didn't have that ready. But they did have the M6s. Now the M6 had a 90mm gun, but the 90mm was not enough to deal with the German tanks. Plus, of course, the M6 had fairly poor armour. So in the end they decided, oh, that one missed. In the end they decided they were going to modify the M6s, give them more armour and a bigger gun. And yes, it could do that to Hotchkisses. Very nice. So again, they started development work, and they were originally going to build 30, And then they modified that and said no, 20, and then they modified that again and said we'll build 15 turrets. But before they can actually even start building the turrets, oh, and now he's got an autoloader, so we have to get behind this rock quick or we'll take a lot of damage. And Arty's missing us, that's good. So what happened was that General Lucius Clay, who actually appears in the film Patton, in fact wearing riding breeches, which of course he was a tank general, and Lucius Clay was actually shown during the segment where they were in Sicily, and Patton asked him for an amphibious operation to break through at a specific spot, and of course Lucius Clay said he needed a few days for his men to rest before they'd be ready, and of course Patton didn't want that and he wanted to push. This guy's reloading and he's gone, but we did take a round there from the enemy Arty. But General Lucius Clay knew that the M6s were no good, so he actually sent a memo to Eisenhower saying don't use the M6, it's just incapable of dealing with the terrain. And in fact, actually during testing they realised in the end that yes, the M6 wouldn't have been capable of dealing with the terrain in Normandy, let alone the terrain in the Lorraine area. Not the Lorraine area. I'm trying to think around where the Battle of the Bulge was held. Yes, I think that is the Saar region of France, isn't it? It wouldn't have been able to cope if it was actually trying to defeat Tigers in that particular region. Oh, we didn't get a chance to fire there. Oh, and got a direct hit from a GW Panther in the side. The armour on this vehicle is pretty poor on the sides actually. The hull's only got 66mm, 51 at the rear, but the hull at the front is 191mm and the turret armour 229, so it's very, very thick indeed. That time round he was ready, got 456, which is a high roll, and now he's potentially got a high caliber. 20% of the enemy hit pool. He didn't kill the Super Hellcat off though, so he's just holding position here at the moment because he daren't go out because the Arty will have a go at him. So he's just having to sit here for the moment and hope that the Arty doesn't get the courage to come round behind him and shoot him in the ass. Because if he did that, then he would definitely get a pen. And he's decided, or is he going to risk it for a biscuit? It's worth it. So kill the... Well, he gets hit by the GW, but he finishes the GW off, but he does take a round from the Super Hellcat instead. But I think now he's going to finish that Super Hellcat off. If he does, this will be the last enemy tank, because there's only one Arty left after this one. Now the Super Hellcat's all ready for him, so he might as well side scrape off this corner. Don't go around because you will give him a free shot. Side scrape off the corner. Oh, that's the Arty. Oh, gets the Super Hellcat. That's his Top Gun. And now he's just got to finish off the last enemy Arty, the M40, M43, who's had a couple of shots at him already, and he's down to 51 hit points. So where is that M40, M43? He must be halfway up the hill. If so, it's going to be a long drive because this thing doesn't have a very high speed. It's only 29 kilometers an hour. There he is. And he takes him out, but no, he doesn't get the kill. The ISU 152 got his shot in just before Kid Engineer fired, but he still gets the Top Gun. Here's the end of battle results. It was the first class tanker for Kid Engineer in the M6A2E1, the Mutant. He managed to get a Hand of God for surviving the battle, having received damage from 4 different enemies. A duelist for taking down 2 tanks who damaged him during the battle. In fact, I suppose you could say that was not only the Hellcat, but also that GW Panther, and of course the GSOR 1008. He got a fire for effect for doing more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle, and he got a couple of battle hero medals. He got the high caliber for dealing the most damage in that game, and he also got a top gun for doing at least 6 enemy tanks or getting 6 kills in the process. Very well done. Let's have a look at team score. Well, there you go. Top of the table with 3,698 hit points of damage. The second highest damage was the Emil 1 with 3,363. And the third highest damage was the ISU 152K. Oh, sorry, it's not the K, it's just the ISU 152, who kill stealed that last one right to the end. He got 2,566 hit points of damage. When it came to kills, he's got the highest number of those with 6 kills. 4 kills went to the ISU 152, and 3 kills went to the Emil 1 and also the T44 on the enemy team. When it came to base XP, he's got the top on that one, so he's got the top in all 3 columns. 1,309 base experience points to Kid Engineer, 1,094 went to the Emil 1, and 956 went to the ISU 152. He fired 16 rounds, got 15 direct hits and 13 penetrations, 1 splash. Damage of 3,698 hit points, of which 330 were at more than 300 meters. 8 hits received, 3 penetrations, 2 non-penetrations, and 5 hits by way of splash damage. Yes, the Arty were having a lot of fun at him. The mutant is a very big target, so it makes it very easy to hit. It stands out like a sore thumb. In fact, that's one of the reasons why in the end they decided no, it wouldn't be a good tank for the European theatre, because if you had that tank going all over the place, yes, the Germans would see it, burst out laughing, and then keep filling it with holes. So yes, it wasn't a good tank for that purpose. He blocked damage of 560 hit points, 3 enemy vehicles were spotted, 6 enemy vehicles were damaged and 6 were killed, and 460 hit points of damage assistance. On a premium count, he earned 83,634 credits, and after repair, ammunition, resupply and consumables took away 98,365 credits, so there must be something in there that we're missing. 1,309 XP, 3,928 for the missions, and 196 because this is a premium tank. He took away 6,088 experience points altogether. He says it's just a really good game and I wanted to share it. Well, it was. Unfortunately, it had me waffling about the mutant in the meanwhile, but it's an interesting tank actually, and a lot of people, I think they put it down because it's an M6 conversion, but the fact of the matter is, with a 105mm gun, it can do a lot of damage to the enemy. It doesn't do as much in the way of alpha as the other 105s do. They mostly have 360 or 390 alpha. This thing only does 320, so it's not a lot in the way of alpha, but it is a very good gun nonetheless. And the armour on the front is actually quite thick. Of course, the turret is also quite big, and it does stand out, as I said, like a sore thumb, so everyone knows it's there. But as you saw, he took on a T-29 and another mutant, and he took the T-29 down in that battle, and also the mutant as well. So, yeah, like on like, this is actually not a bad tank. It is a preferential matchmaking, so it can bully other tanks, because it's only ever going to see tier 8. I don't think it ever sees tier 9, but it is a very decent tank with a decent gun. The only problem, of course, is that side armour and the rear armour. You can't afford to get hit in the sides or the rear, because the armour is so thin on the sides and rear that it's very easy to take them down if you can get behind them. And I think that's what the Hotchkiss was trying to do. He zoomed up as fast as he could to try and get behind him so he could perforate him, but luckily Kid Engineer was ready for him and blasted him out of the game straight back to the garage. So I hope you enjoyed that replay and my little talk on the mutant. It's quite a history regarding it, and it's interesting to read up and find out exactly what problems they came across when they were actually designing it. They actually tested one of the hulls, because they only actually built 2 mutants in actual fact, and both unfortunately were destroyed for scrap metal in the end. They weren't preserved. But when they fired some machine gun rounds at one of the turrets. The rounds bounced off the frontal armour of the tank, hit the mantlet and ended up inside the tank. So they actually managed to work their way up underneath the mantlet into the turret. If there had been a crew in there, the crew would have been killed, even though the tank had not actually been properly penetrated, because the shells were actually ricocheting into the mantlets, underneath the mantlets and into the hull. Very unusual. So I hope you enjoyed that replay. If you did, please give this video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.